Hello, this is Chris Opfell. Welcome to this installment of Vintage Stereo Receivers. This installment will feature the Harmon Kardon 990Vxi from 1989. The 990 was Harmon Kardon's top-of-the-line receiver for 1989 and retailed for $1,199. Unfortunately, it was only rated at 90 watts per channel, and just to give you an idea of how that power rating affected it, a comparable Luxman R117, which was sold for the same price, put out almost double that amount, 160 watts per channel, not to mention the fact that it had almost 4 times that amount of power in dynamic headroom. However, the Harmon Kardon did have some special features. Most noteworthy was the ultra-wideband amplifier, and in the Harmon Kardon 990, that ultra-wideband amplifier is particularly noteworthy because it reproduces square waves almost perfectly. I didn't really understand the significance until I took this 990 to my friend Tom Ishimoto, former chief engineer of Marantz, to have the unit bench tested. Tom and I were both rather shocked when we watched the square wave reproduction on his oscilloscope because it was almost perfect, which is very rare in any audio receiver. So the 990 carries a certain pedigree with it that must be respected. The Harmon Kardon also has another nice feature, which is the active tracking circuitry in the FM tuner section, which allows it to pick stations out of densely crowded urban radio markets with utmost clarity. Now, fortunately, this feature is defeatable by a front panel button. The 990Vxi was also Harmon Kardon's first receiver with a remote control. Now, most other manufacturers had started introducing their remote controlled receivers in 1982, 1983. I don't know why it took Harmon Kardon so long to introduce this feature, but it is a nice feature, and especially on a unit that performs as well as the 990Vxi. The remote control is controlled by this rotary knob on the front of the 990Vxi, which has several functions. And in order to have the remote work, you have to put the unit into remote mode. Now, this is a somewhat unfortunate design feature because you'll have to switch from tuner to remote or CD to remote in order to operate the remote and transfer all those functions to the remote control. But the bottom line is it is remote controllable. It also allows you to record from one source while listening to another source, which is a feature that most top-of-the-line receivers of the era had. It has a typical array of tone controls, A and B speakers, digital synthesized receiver. It has an input for an external processor. It has main out and main ins on the back panel, so you can hook it up to an auxiliary power amplifier and bypass the 90 watt per channel amplifier. And then it has some rather unusual LEDs on the front panel, which I consider somewhat duplicative considering the fact that they're always on. They are for high voltage and high current, and since this is a receiver that's advertised as a high voltage, high current receiver, it seems to me that it's usually always operating in those modes, and in fact, every time that I've used this receiver, these two LEDs, which are red, have been on. In terms of listening quality, I must say that out of all of the vintage receivers that I have, which is quite a few, the Harmon Kardon sounds absolutely among the top 2 or 3. As long as you don't listen to it at too high a volume, the sound is truly superb. The sound stage is deep and wide. The most subtle notes are produced with stunning accuracy, and in fact, it's really hard to differentiate the performance of the 990Vxi from comparably priced separates. So I'd give the Harmon Kardon VXI. Thank you for taking a moment to listen to this podcast, and have a good day.